Thank you for joining us. Tehran has condemned the U.S. seizure of 33 pro-Iranian media websites, calling it a breach of freedom of speech. The U.S. says the sites violate sanctions against Iran. This is a message greeting people trying to look at the Iranian English language press TV site. The channel has now changed its domain address so users can gain access. The U.S. Justice Department has accused media outlets connected to Iran's Revolutionary Guard of spreading disinformation. A Hamas-linked Palestinian website has also been blocked. Let's bring in our correspondent in Iran, Dorsa Jabbari, who's live in Tehran. So, Dorsa, tell us more first about these Iranian news websites that have been targeted and the reaction from the Iranian authorities.
Well, this is the first time we're seeing such a large number of websites that have been pulled offline by the American government. Of course, they are using a local domain now to continue having their online presence, but it comes at a very critical time. Of course, the Iranians have said that their sites are legitimate news organizations within the country. They belong to various branches of state television. And we've also heard from the head of the Iranian mission to the United Nations, who has condemned the act by the U.S. government, calling it a freedom of speech issue, it's a censorship issue, and that Iran will pursue the matter through legal channels. We've also been hearing from the President Hassan Rouhani's chief of staff at the weekly cabinet meeting. Let's listen to some of what he had to say.
What
the US did to Iranian websites was a breach of all principles of freedom of speech, which the United States is proud of. They restricted freedom of speech. We condemn this measure. We will use all our legal and international means to counter this wrong policy of the United States. It is not a constructive move at a time when nuclear talks are underway in Vienna.
As you said, Dorsa, this is coming at a critical time, a delicate time in U.S.-Iran relations when they've been trying to revive the 2015 nuclear deal. How might these U.S. moves affect that?
Well, it's certainly not going to help the situation. The 6th round of nuclear talks in Vienna wrapped up just a few days ago, and the Iranians are now deciding whether or not they will agree to the draft that's been brought together in Vienna. There is a special committee that's been formed with the various branches of government who are looking closely at the details of that agreement. We heard from the Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif, who said that the text he's reviewed is the final one they have at the moment, following months of negotiations in Vienna since April. So the Iranians are in a position to make a decision now. And of course, the newly elected President Ebrahim Raisi has weighed in on the topic as well, saying that he will continue to support what is in the best interest of the Iranian nation. But we understand that the Iranians have to make a decision soon. And there is an understanding that these kinds of activities or behaviors by the United States government will not likely go down well in a very conservative various branches of government that we have at the moment, and it will just make the work of President Hassan Rouhani and his negotiating team much more difficult to convince those various factions to agree to this document that's been brought back to Tehran. It will most likely delay any kind of decision by the Iranians to reach an agreement. But we are waiting also to find out. There is an IAEA technical agreement that expires on Thursday. And whether or not this will have an effect on what the Iranians decide to do next remains to be seen. But it certainly will not help the situation.
Dorsa Jabbari in Tehran, thank you very much for that update.